Hey, I'm Grant with Grant's Game Rex, here to bring you the best expansions hitting retail in the month of March 2024. We don't have a ton of expansions this month, but what they lack in number, they make up for in quality, because we've got some expansions for some very popular games this month, and so I'm excited to let you know about them. I hope you find something here you're excited about. Asmodee is bringing 2 expansions to the great game Mindbug. If you haven't played Mindbug before, it is one of my favorite 2-player games of all time. I would honestly put it in like my top 5 2-player games of all time. It's a very small box card game, but it's so interesting. You are playing cards down, and those cards are going to have power and special abilities. But each player starts with 2 Mindbugs. So at any point in the game, twice, you can, when your opponent plays a card, you can say, nope, I'm going to Mindbug that. I'm going to take control of that card. And it just adds layers and layers of strategy to the card play, because you constantly have to think about, okay, what cards are my opponent going to steal? So how can I play a card that I want them to steal that then I have a backup plan for? And it's just a really, really great 2-player card game. Well, the first expansion that's coming out this month is Mindbug Beyond Eternity, and both of these expansions, just sort of add some new layers of strategy to the game Mindbug. In Mindbug Beyond Eternity, it introduces the Boost ability, where you can use cards from your graveyard to give your creatures a +1 boost in power. And there's also cards that can have effects when they are in your graveyard, making them stronger. So maybe you want things to be defeated by your opponent at certain points in the game. This expansion is a standalone expansion, but it can also be mixed in with the original Mindbug, which was called Mindbug First Contact, or the other expansion, Mindbug Beyond Evolution. So standalone or can be all mixed together and played together. The other expansion that I will talk about is Mindbug Beyond Evolution. And the main thing that this does is it adds a few cards that have an evolutionary line to them. So you would play the card, and then off to the side, you're going to have the level 2 version of that card, which then makes that card stronger. And then there's a level 3 version of that card. So each player are going to have specific cards that level up throughout the game, giving you new special abilities to use and to plan for throughout the game. This one also is a standalone expansion, can be played on its own or can be mixed with any of the other 2. So, Mindbug is a game that plays in 10 to 20 minutes. It's very quick, but it has a lot more depth of strategy than you would think just looking at the little box of cards, for sure. And the artwork is really fun, really, it's silly monsters. I love the artwork in the game, for sure. Asmodee, in association with CMON, are releasing Dune War for Arrakis, the Spacing Guild. So Dune War for Arrakis just hit retail in the month of March. It is a Dune-themed war game where you are working for control of the board. You are moving troops around, and they are all very asymmetric factions in the game. House Atreides plays very differently than House Harkonnen, which plays differently than the other things in the game. And so if you like a thematic war game feeling game, then Dune War for Arrakis is a good one for you. It is a heavier weight game, plays 2 to 4 players in a few hours. Well, the Spacing Guild expansion introduces a new space board where guild highliners will race through space to bring reinforcements to Arrakis. So yeah, you are trying to get more dudes on your map. You're trying to figure out how to get reinforcements where you need it on the board. Now, I will say, Dune War for Arrakis is already you better have a big table to play this game. There's a lot on the board. It's a big, big board, and this adds a new spaceboard to it. So you better have an even bigger table if you want to play with this expansion for sure. And again, if you like Dune stuff, if you like war theme, themed war games, then this one is probably for you. And the Spacing Guild introduces new ways to get reinforcements to your troops on the board. Avalon Hill is releasing HeroQuest Against the Ogre Horde Pack Quest expansion. Did I say that right? HeroQuest Against the Ogre Horde Quest Pack expansion. Yeah, I think I got that right. But this is an expansion for their game HeroQuest. HeroQuest is a dungeon crawl game that is a bit semi-cooperative because one player plays as sort of the GM of the game and other people play as fantasy characters and you are going on quests. This quest pack expansion adds 10 perilous quests to the game. It adds 28 detailed miniatures and it adds full color tiles. And one thing they note is the game comes with limitless replayability because you can also create your own quests and stories in the game. HeroQuest plays 2 to 5 players, and it plays in an hour or two for a quest. So if you like more, HeroQuest was an old game that just got re-implemented a few years ago. So that's another video I do on my channel is the best new editions of board games. And HeroQuest originally came out in the 80s and then got reissued a few years ago. So this is an expansion for the new version of HeroQuest, which is kind of a reimplementation of an old expansion for the old HeroQuest game. So this is not a standalone game here. This Ogre Horde Quest Pack, you do need HeroQuest to play it, but adds more quests and story and stuff to your game. For sure, so that's great. Board and Dice is releasing Nucleum Australia. This is an expansion to their heavyweight game, Nucleum, that came out last year. Nucleum made a lot of people's top 10 games of the year list. It is a big board, big table hog game where you are you're making nuclear reactors. You're going along the board. You're upgrading. You're figuring out how to make the most efficient nuclear reactors, sort of stuff. It plays 1 to 4 players in realistically probably like 3 hours. And again, it is a heavyweight game. Well, Nucleum Australia is the first expansion to the game Nucleum, which Nucleum already in the top 500 on BGG, so it is rising quickly. Well, Nucleum Australia comes with a new map that introduces several new concepts and rule changes to the Nucleum base game. It adds shipping lanes out there so you can expand your networks across the board. It allows you to build your own coal mines, and there is an expert variant in the game with bidding for the experiments. So if you are, one of the things it says about it is like it's making the board even bigger. Australia, that's one of the big challenges of this expansion is that Australia is just a large continent, and so you have to figure out how to cleverly use shipping lanes to get stuff, to transport stuff more efficiently around the board than just your rail system that you had in the original game. So yeah, if you like Nucleum, then check out Australia. Capstone Games is releasing Orleans. I always want to say Orleans, but I feel like it's Orleans, the Plague expansion. So Orleans is another top rated game. It's very high on BGG. It is almost I would say like the quintessential or the original bag building game. I feel like it's one of the games that made bag building popular. And so in the game, you are, reaching into a bag, you're getting these little tokens, and those tokens have different colors, and those will represent which actions you can do on the board, and there's a lot of different options on the board. There's moving along routes and building buildings. There's just a bunch of different stuff you could do. It is a medium weight game. Orleans is a medium weight game that plays 2 to 5 players, and then you can build your bag up. Well, this expansion, the Plague expansion, essentially just throws wrenches in your plans when playing Orleans. The game conditions are made tougher from the start of play thanks to rat cards, and sometimes there are fewer monks in the game. Sometimes no gears may be placed on place cards, or the building of trading stations must be paid for with an additional coin. Essentially, they just make things harder to get, right? It's just, this is now costs an extra thing, or this, you can't do this round, that sort of stuff. It even also adds corpse tokens, which players must place a certain number in their bag at the end of each round. And then these tokens, if they're randomly drawn out of the bag, they just occupy valuable space and they don't let you do an action, so they cannot be used for any action on the board. So if you pull a corpse token, well, too bad. But each player does have a plague doctor, which can be used to sort of help mitigate those restrictions and those bad things that are happening in the game. The plague, it's bad. It's bad. So bad stuff are happening to you in this game because you are playing the Plague Orleans expansion. So, if you felt like, Orleans was just a breeze, I want to make it harder, then this expansion will do that for you, for sure. Flat River Group, in association with Horrible Guild, is releasing Railroad Inc. Archipelago boards set expansion. Railroad Inc. is a game where it's a roll and write game. It's a route building game. If you want a train game, but you want it much more compact, if you want a small box train game, then Railroad Inc. is a game for you, because you are rolling dice and then using whatever comes up to sort of draw routes on your board. And there's like a bunch of different versions of Railroad Inc. Well, this expansion provides new boards. So normally you just have like a set board. Well, this one divides your board into 4x4 sort of grids represented. They represent islands. So that's why it's the archipelago. Now you just have 4 separate things on your board, and those routes can only be connected through bridge spaces. So you can only sort of get from one to the other by using bridges. It also features a new special building, the warehouse, which allows you to store routes and save them for later use. So if you're a fan of roll and write games, if you're a fan of that sort of stuff, then check out Railroad Inc. Archipelago expansion. Paverson Games is releasing Distilled Africa and Middle East expansion. Distilled, a game that came out last year, was a sort of medium plus game all about distilling different spirits. And this was another game that, hit a lot of top 10 lists at the end of the year. Distilled did. And one of the things I liked about it so much is it was a really, really thematic game about crafting spirits. And you could learn about both the crafting process and about these different alcohols from around the world. It wasn't just sort of whiskey and vodka. There was a bunch of stuff in there that I'd never heard about, and I got to learn about sort of where this comes from. Where is this alcohol popular? That sort of stuff. So it was a really thematic Euro-y type game about, building an engine to build spirits and managing ingredients and stuff like that. Well, this expansion, as you might guess by the Africa and Middle East name to it, is adding alcohol from those regions. So you can learn about the alcohol that is popular in Africa and the Middle East. Things like, I feel like I'm going to say this wrong, but Akpetishi or Arak or buka or things like that. You know, literally, I'm reading this. I've never heard of these types of alcohols, and I want to go look up more about them because this is not a thing that's popular in Los Angeles, where I'm at. And so, you know, I just think that's a really cool aspect of Distilled. This also adds other things, like you're going to have new distillers that have special powers, and those distillers are going to be from Africa and the Middle East. It adds 6 new signature recipe labels. It adds 10 distillery upgrade cards. Just a bunch of different content added into the game of Distilled. So if you like thematic Euro-y games, that's a good one. Rio Grande Games is releasing Concordia, Roma, Sicilia expansion. Concordia is, you know, when we mentioned that there was some, I mentioned up top of the video that there were some expansions for really popular games. I feel like Nucleum qualifies, Orleans qualifies, but Concordia is in the top 25 games of all time on BGG. So this is the heavy hitter right here in terms of popularity. Concordia plays 2 to 5 players in 60 to 100 minutes, and you know, the game is a very much sort of building trade routes, getting resources, managing a hand of cards, all that sort of stuff. I'm sure you probably already know the game. Well, this expansion provides a new double-sided game board that will give you a few different experiences. On the Roma side of the board, you build the Eternal City with famous places like the Colosseum, the Forum, Circus Maximus, or the Pantheon. You're going to send your colonist ships abroad to gather extra benefits. And then on the Sicilia side of the board, there are eruptions of the volcano Etna that may hit you throughout the game. So it's a new element of luck added into Concordia because you never know when the volcanoes are going to erupt. So yeah, if you're a huge fan of Concordia, then this is new ways to play the game for sure. So that's it. That's what I got for you this month. Those are 9 great expansions hitting retail in March. I hope those are games that you like. I hope those are games that you already play and now you want more content for it. So thank you so much, everybody. I'm Grant with Grant's Game Rex.